Welcome back, everyone. In this video, we'll cover what a data frame is, how to use them, and how to lay out and export a basic map document to a PDF. To begin with, I'm going to add a data layer to my map. In this case, I'm going to add a layer of rivers covering California. Now that they've loaded, let's change the color so that the data are more easily seen as rivers. I'll go into the basic symbology and select a blue color. Now that we have some data in our document, let's stop and take a look at how our data is represented to us here. It's shown to us in a couple different forms: the display of the spatial data in the main portion of the document here, and then the name of the layer and the symbology display in the table of contents area. But let's take a look for a second at what the root of the table of contents is. This item named layers is what we call a data frame. Until now, it's been fine to think of it as your table of contents as a whole, but now we want to add some knowledge to that concept. The data frame is the collection of layers, but also defines quite a lot about how those layers are displayed to us, including the projection that the layers are shown in and how these layers are shown together on the page. The data frame has its own properties dialog box, which I can access by right-clicking on it and going to properties. And inside are a bunch of options primarily concerned with map display. We don't know enough to go through all of these yet, but know that they're here and we'll return here as we learn more about making maps. Let's briefly switch to the coordinate system tab though. Remember that data can come in many different coordinate systems and projections. Well, ArcGIS needs a way to display these data all on the same map, so the data frame also has a coordinate system of its own. By default, it's the coordinate system of the first data layer you add to the data frame, but you can change that here whenever you like, and there can be good reasons for doing so, but mostly you won't need to. Whenever data in your data frame uses a coordinate system that is different from this one, ArcGIS will reproject the data behind the scenes to the data frame's projection so that it can be displayed in the data frame. Your underlying data isn't touched, it's just temporarily done so it can be shown on the screen. This is an important concept to remember, and we'll return to it pretty often. Let's exit out of data frame properties for now. Just as the data frame is displayed in the table of contents, you can also think of this main area of ArcMap here, where your data is drawn, as being the data frame as well, just a different representation of it. To demonstrate, let's add another data frame to our map document. We can do this from the Insert menu, and we'll select Data Frame. Notice that in our table of contents, we now have a new item called New Data Frame, appropriately, with the same icon as the Layers data frame. What else happened? Our main drawing area went blank. Where did our data go? Well, it's not being shown to us because the data frame that has all of our existing data in it, called Layers, isn't, quote, active right now. Only one data frame at a time can be active and shown in the main area, and I can tell which one is currently active at a glance by seeing which one is bolded in the table of contents. I can add layers to this data frame now if I wanted, and they would render as if I had another map. So think of these as entirely different map views that live in the same map document. You'll understand the usefulness of this in a few minutes, but think about that for now when we start laying out map documents. Let's switch back to our original data frame. We can do this by right-clicking on it and clicking Activate. And when we do this, the data that we originally brought in shows up in the main window again. So now that we have an understanding of data frames, let's work on making our document ready to export. To start, let's add some context to our map by adding a base map to our document. This will help us better locate places of interest for our map. I'll go to the Add Base Map dialog, and I'm going to select one of the gray base maps to just provide some basic context without intruding too much on my data. The data is still kind of a giant blob of blue, so let's zoom into an area of interest so we can see some individual rivers. In this case, I'll zoom into the area around Davis, where I'm located. When we do, we'll be able to see individual rivers as part of our data. We now have a really basic map here. Since we've set our theme to be Rivers Near Davis, I'm going to add that as a map title in the document metadata. To do this, I'll go to the File menu, then Map Document Properties, and in the title field, I'll type in Rivers Near Davis, California. Then click OK to save that. So cool, now we have a basic map ready. Let's prepare it for export to share with someone, maybe a coworker or friend, so they can see our map without using ArcGIS. To do this, we need to switch ArcGIS to a new view called Layout View. I can do this by going to the View menu, and notice at the top here that right next to Layout View, there's Data View. Data view is what we're currently in since it emphasizes working with our data. Layout view emphasizes creating a printable or exportable page with all the common map elements instead. You can also switch between these two views using the tiny icons in the bottom left corner here. It's the same thing, just your preference. I'm going to select to go to layout view now. When we switch to layout view, we now see a page, and our data frame is just one box on that page. Our other empty data frame is also on this page, allowing us to make things like inset maps or to show multiple views on a location. For now, I'm going to select and delete this second data frame by hitting the delete key since we don't need it anymore, but know that any data frame you create will automatically appear in layout view for you. Now we're just left with our basic data frame. Maps typically have many standard elements, a north arrow, a legend, a scale bar, your name, and more, but for this map, we'll just add a title before we export it. To do so, I'll go to Insert menu, then Title. Since I already filled in the title and the metadata, the title is automatically populated for me on the page. I'll move the box to the top of the page by selecting it and moving it by dragging. And if I double click it, I can change or add to the text and set the font size. In the box for text, it has a special code right now that says the title is to come from the map document's properties. But we could type normal text here. For now, let's just change the font size. I'll click Change Symbol and increase the font size here. Then click OK in this box and OK again to save, and our title's size changes. So if I hadn't already, now would be a good time to save my map document since it's all done, and I'm going to do that now. Now we have a fully set up, ready to export document. All that's left to do is the final export. When we save the document as we just did, we're exporting ArcGIS's format. But when we export, we save the layout view representation of the map in formats that can be used elsewhere, like images, PDFs, things like that. So let's just go to the File menu, then Export Map. We can find the folder we want to save it in as we normally would with any file, and type in a file name. Down near the file name, we can select the file type to export using the Save as Type option. I'll select PDF here for now, and that influences the options I'll see below it in just a moment. There are many of these options down below that you should explore, but we'll handle just a few right now. If I'm going to send this document on the internet, I'll probably just need to set an export resolution here of 96 dpi. It's appropriate resolution for viewing on most screens. If I was going to export it for printing, I'd probably want to set that to 300 dpi so that I have sufficient resolution to print it on a printer. Then, for the output image quality, I'll set it to best. Once I do that, I'm ready to export my document by clicking the Save button, and I'll do that right now. ArcGIS will show some basic information once I click that, indicating it's working in the bottom left corner of the screen. And then when it's done, it will say Export Complete. Once it says that, we can go open our map document from our computer to confirm it exported correctly. Okay, that's it for this lesson. You now know how to use data frames, create basic layout views, and export maps as PDFs. See you in the next lesson.